The $69 billion acquisition of VMware by Broadcom has hit a delay as they await approval from Chinese regulators. The companies continue to express confidence that the deal will close before the November 26th deadline, but the delay could challenge that. It's believed to be linked to recent U.S. restrictions on Chinese access to high performance semiconductors. Tom, do you think this could derail the acquisition overall, or do you think that VMware and Broadcom have a solution?
I think Broadcom has a solution. I don't think VMware cares one way or the other. Now, obviously, in the grander scheme of things, this could be a huge problem if suddenly the brakes are put on this. But I think what's happening is that China is putting pressure on this particular acquisition, which, depending on where you look at it, is either the largest or the second largest in history beside Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard. They want some assurances from the U.S. government that we're not going to play these cat and mouse games with the chip manufacturing stuff anymore. And the biggest problem here is, remember that Broadcom has already kind of played this game once before too. They were headquartered in China for the longest time, and then suddenly they're headquartered in Silicon Valley, and they moved over there because they thought it would be easier to appease U.S. regulators by being in the U.S. with their headquarters and still just having a large presence in China. Well, now the Chinese are kind of they're influencing those decisions a little bit more. And I think part of what they're doing is they're playing this wait and see game, because we saw this a little bit with ARM, where they're waiting for the West to go through all the rigorous decisions and things like that and kind of push a little bit and take a wait and see approach. If the West decides that it's not going to happen, then they don't have to get their hands dirty. But if the West decides to greenlight something, now they can come back and play a little bit of a upsmanship, if you want to call it that, by saying, well, we're not so sure and we have our own concerns and we need you to give us assurances, and basically kind of not saying, but saying, we want our cut of the pie too. I think what's going to happen, given that this is the 1st of November and VMware and Broadcom are saying that this will be done in 3.5 weeks, I think what's going to happen is that Broadcom's going to have to make some assurances behind the scenes that will make sure that the Chinese still have access to certain technologies, that they're going to kind of go to bat for them in the U.S. to kind of alleviate some of these pressures. And I think of ultimately at the 11th hour, China will clear this merger, because to not have it go through, as big as this is, would actually be detrimental to Broadcom at this point, which, given that you've attached your name to it as the Chinese, whatever committee is responsible for this, would actually be a bigger problem in the long run, because now you're going to have a bunch of Silicon Valley targeting you for holding this up, given that we've already seen a lot of movement internal to VMware based on this acquisition. I mean, they're basically saying that it's done. To pull out now would be a huge hit.